The Panthers, they make their third straight cup. The Hurricanes blow a 2-0 lead in game 5, and I will never forgive them for that because I thought maybe the Eastern Conference Finals would be actually kind of interesting. No, it was not interesting. None of it was interesting. And look, the Panthers right now, it reminds me a little bit of when the Red Wings were good, actually. Just a team that consistently is playing at, you know, cup caliber play. And furthermore, a team that turns it on in the playoffs. That just kind of, okay, they kind of sauntered into the playoffs and then, you know, down goes Tampa, down goes Toronto, down goes Carolina. And they're in their third straight cup. They got a chance to go back to back. Team hasn't gone back, or obviously they've never gone back to back. Haven't seen back to back since Tampa Bay Lightning did it a couple of years ago. Here's my thing, because when I saw just how much success they've had, pretty much since I guess you could say 2021 ish, around when they won the President's Trophy. I think that was 21. It could be 22. I don't remember. Early to now, 2020s. They've been consistently good. They've been good for a long time. They've sustained success, if you will. They haven't sold the farm exactly. They haven't sold the future, etc., etc. They've maintained consistent success, long-term success, not just short-term success for the Florida Panthers. If you don't get what I'm getting at, basically, the Florida Panthers are, I suppose in theory, what Steve Yzerman and what many Red Wings fans believe the Red Wings are building towards. And here's my question. Just seeing how good the Panthers are, ballpark, okay? How many years away are the Red Wings from being what the Panthers are currently? Is it 1 year? Are they just going to suddenly go make the Stanley Cup? Probably not. Maybe 2 years? 3 years? 4? Let me just break this down. If they are 2 years away, let's see, we're already in year 6 or 7. Yes, 6, because this is 2025. He's hired in 2019. So actually, no, next year it'll be the 7th season, I believe. So 2 more years from now will be 9. 3 more years, if my math checks out, will be 10. What are we doing? like we are so far apart from them that even after 6 years of rebuilding for quote unquote sustained success, we might be another 3 years from being at said sustained success. Let me just ask a question. Of guys that are on our roster right now, which one would be on that first line for Florida, if any? Your best player last year was Lucas Raymond. He had 80 points. Maybe Lucas. Maybe him, right? Maybe Raymond. Alex DeBrincat had 70 points. Maybe. Dylan Larkin, he also had 70 points, but, you're kind of pushing it. Patrick Kane, no. Mo Seider, no. Marco Kasper, no. Vladimir Tarasenko, well, he was on the team last year, but no, he wasn't on the first line. Compher, no. Edmondson, no. So basically, we have 3 maybes, all forwards. And our best defenseman, Mo Seider, is not offensive in any way. He has not matched his 50-point total of his rookie season since putting it up. So, we're talking about basically 6 years in. We don't have a single one where you're like, absolutely this person for sure, outside of maybe Lucas Raymond, would be a first-line player for a Stanley Cup team that is long-term sustained success, right? Not a single one of them would be on that first line, except for Lucas Raymond, maybe. How long is it going to take for people to realize that if it's taking you this long to develop more than one first-line superstar talent, that you're just not doing things the right way. Or at the very least, you're just not doing things the most efficient way. Is it true that, you bring up a good point. Casper can get into the spot. The operative word there is can, as in theory, he can develop. Of course, nobody's denying. Nobody's denying that players that we have in our system could develop and be studs and be superstars. Here's the problem. They aren't here, and you don't know what they're going to be. We are now 6 years in. We're going to be 7 years in. And I got to be honest, I don't know if Red Wings fans even think that he has to make the playoffs next year. And if they don't, I honestly, I think you could just throw your fan card away and just go ahead and turn it in for a propaganda card at that point. Like, go ahead and stop being a fan and start working for the Detroit Red Wings and tell everybody how everything is awesome, and just do wait until 2035 when Simon Edvinsson is Nicholas Lindstrom 2.0. Just you wait. I'm going to be eating my words when Simon Edvinsson, Marco Kasper, Moritz Seider, and Lucas Raymond are all on this team. I'm going to be eating my words. Then you'll see how competitive we can be. Look, again, if the Panthers are the standard, right? If the Panthers are that sustained success, right? Obviously you could say, well, how many young, they've got the guys, right? They've gotten their guys that they have. A lot of them they have drafted. Some guys they traded for. Some guys they've picked up and they've developed and they fit into a system. They got a coach who is solid. They have got their, core of guys, right? And their sustained success. They're not going to have to do a whole lot of crazy things to maintain what they're doing. In theory, that's what you would want for the Red Wings, right? Similar to previous, franchise greats and franchise, from that 90s to the early 2000s. That's what we're thinking. How far away are we from the Panthers? Because that's how far away we are from getting back to that. And if it's, frankly, any more than 2 years, I do not want to hear about it. And if you will say to me with a straight face that it is more than 4 or 3 years away, you can go ahead and I will turn in my fandom and I'll just find another sport to watch in the winter. I'll just watch the Pistons. Because you know what? At least the Pistons, they can get into the playoffs in a 1-year flip. With all the young talent, at least they can flip their season around and make the playoffs and be at least fun. Even if they don't win a playoff series, at least they can be fun. It's one of those things where, and I know this is not Steve Yzerman's problem. I know he can't control this, but it's just really sick when literally every single team, including the major college, Michigan and Michigan State football and basketball team, have both had at one point, or every single team, they've all had at some point some breakthrough of success. Whether it's the Tigers making the playoffs last year and winning a playoff series, whether it's the Tigers right now, running away with the division, whether it's the Pistons last year making the playoffs and ending their playoffs win drought, whether it's the Lions winning back-to-back North titles, whether it's Michigan State winning the freaking Peach Bowl in 2021, whether it's Michigan winning the national championship in football, whether it's Michigan State and Michigan both winning college Big Ten championships in basketball. I know it's not Steve Yzerman's problem. I know he didn't choose for every other team to be successful, but boy, does it look terrible when every other team that people care about in the state of Michigan has success before he can even make the playoffs in a league where half the league makes the playoffs. So I ask again, how far away do you think this team really is? And if it's more than 3 years, why are you still, a believer in Steve Yzerman? And if you are still a believer in Steve Yzerman and you think it's less than 3 years, show me the blueprint for what they have to do and what they will have to do next year specifically. Not just, what the team is going to look like 2-3 years from now. I want to know what this team has to do this offseason to show you that you still believe, and further what the team has to be like next year. Because if it's anything other than making the playoffs and even making a little bit of noise in the playoffs, then what is even the point? Last I checked, and maybe I'm just a stupid idiot who doesn't know anything about hockey. Last I checked, we play the games to win Stanley Cups, especially in Detroit. I think we know a little bit about that. But hey, I don't know. I don't know as much about hockey as Steve Eisenman, so I'm just a big dummy, right? That's probably right. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.